Hey guys, hope you're having a great day today. Today is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday morning to you. I hope that your morning is going well. Mine's starting off late. I feel like I've had later starts the last little while, but that's okay. It just means that we'll do things a little bit quicker, which you guys know, fast talking, fast getting it done, it'll work, but no, it'll be good. I sat yesterday and today's going to be a baking day, so a large family baking day. Kind of gathering up fragments because we're at the end of the month and I was kind of like, don't want to run out and buy things because I want to be able to just use what I have in my home. So I've kind of looked through my freezers, looked at my pantries, and I came myself up with a little list right here. And then I wrote out all my recipes over here on my countertop. Let me show you right there. So those are all the things I'm going to make today. But I'll leave it a surprise and just start making them and show them to you, and then we'll do them. So first one we're going to make today, you know what we're going to make? Bean donuts. We love those chocolate donuts. Love those. Love those. Kind of like how we love pumpkin stuff for a long time and then we just ate it so much we're done with it. So the bean donuts are our favorite. I have one more can of garbanzo beans left and I'm like, let me make up a double batch of those donuts. I'll put the recipe on the screen. Last time I didn't add sugar. Add your sugar, Amy. We're going to do that and we're going to make them and it's going to be delicious. They're so good. They're healthy and wonderful for you. So let's get going. I'm going to get an apron on, get out my ingredients. We'll make some chocolate bean donuts. The best things. If you haven't made these, make them. So for those donuts, you add these first few ingredients in the blender, everything but the flour and the chocolate chips. So we're going to put all that in here, let it blend. I'm going to double the recipe and then I'll add my flour and my melted chocolate chips that way to it. Stir that in a bowl. I did it in here. It did not work. And then we'll put it in a bag so we can pipe it into the donut pan. All right, I was mixing that up and I'm like, why does it not taste sweet? And I'm like, oh my goodness, the sugar. Why am I forgetting the sugar in the recipe? I don't know why. It's on my paper. Just totally don't see it. So I've got my big batch here. I think I'm going to put it inside a Ziploc bag and just pipe it into the donut pan. Real simple. All right, so I wasn't gonna I remember those blueberry donuts I made, the blueberry lemon ones, so good. I wasn't going to, I thought I'll just do one pan, but since I'm gonna have to use the pan for the rest of these chocolate ones, they're a little bit thinner. It's usually a lot thicker. So I added coconut milk and I added like a can of it, and I added a little bit more liquid. So they'll just be a little bit lighter in area instead of thicker. That's okay. So I still have more. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, do I make the blueberry lemon ones? Yes, let's make the blueberry lemon ones. But I did a recipe before. I just like to put another one. I had Greek yogurt in my refrigerator that I have not used. It's a little container I bought for a recipe, never even used it. So I'm gonna use that one with the recipe that I'm showing here. I'll put it on the screen, mix that up, we're gonna do double batch and then try these ones out. Okay, so I just have to wait for the ones in the oven. So instead of waiting, I'm just gonna keep going because the next thing I'm gonna do are cinnamon roll cookies. We have this humongous container of sugar cookie dough. We got this, I think these were $1.50. I believe these were $1.50 too. We made these we made two of them. One was like with sprinkles, another one with sprinkles, but they get to the end and they just don't eat them because they love all the other delicious stuff, which I don't blame them. So I was Googling recipes. I'm like, what could I make with this? One that I wanted to do was making a cookie pizza and putting like a cream cheese with sugar and I think Cool Whip frosting type thing, and then putting fresh fruit. That would have been delicious, but I don't have any fresh fruit, so I was like, that's not gonna work because I have like applesauce and frozen stuff, so that would taste bad. So I did look up cinnamon roll cookies. I thought that looks really neat. So basically you roll the cookie dough out into a rectangle, melt butter and put sugar and cinnamon on it and roll it up. And then I'm gonna wrap it up, keep it tight, put it in the refrigerator. And then I'm gonna take it out when it gets cold and slice it like a cinnamon roll, put it out, and then we're gonna put powdered sugar mixture on it. I think it looks delicious. We'll try it, something different, because we wanna gather our fragments and use what we have. So let's roll out some cookie dough. All right, the last one I used this spray. Thought maybe that'd be better for the non-sticking, but it probably was better like the first one to use the flour, because that made it a lot stiffer. So this was a little gushy, that's why it fell apart. Putting it in the pan, but that's okay. Put it in the freezer and hope it'll kind of get together, then I can slice it easier, I hope. All right, we're doing lots of different things, getting dishes done. While the oven's kind of free, while I wait for things to go, I'm gonna do the chocolate chip cookie dough. Just make cookies, simple. Okay, chocolate donuts are all done, so I'm gonna mix up my glaze for the chocolate right now. All right, so do you ever have a complete fail in cooking? I do all the time. And I like to put that in my video. Like last time I made, sorry, it's really weird, the lighting. Last time I made these donuts until I forgot to add sugar, had to redo that. So these are good. They're good. I usually put them on like the drying rack and let it drip down. I'm just putting them on a pan to save myself sanity later on today, because it seems like life today is going a little crazy. I made these new blueberry muffin, or blueberry donut recipes. Well, the last recipe didn't have the yogurt in it. Yogurt makes it kind of get fluffy. Thus, this was born. So it's like a donut muffin. A donut muffin. What could you come out of that? Donut muffin? Anyways, they taste delicious, like so good. Probably better than the other recipe, but you have to do way less batter in the donut pans. I did not. This is enough for 2 donuts here. This next batch I put in, they're looking more normal. These are not. So that was my fail for the day. That's okay, along with the cinnamon cookies, trying to get them on the cookie sheet. It's okay, it's one of those days. All right, we're just gonna move forward. So I've got my other frosting or glaze. I did the same one I did for the chocolate. I just added a couple, like a tablespoon of lemon juice to it, just to make it more lemony. So I'm gonna try, I probably will drizzle these. Probably better to drizzle these since they're more like, you know, beautiful big giant muffin cakes. What kind of, I don't know, it's crazy. I don't even know. Maybe I'll keep those on the rack. Let's keep those on the racks and we'll just drizzle on there. And then they'll be like a donut cookie or a donut muffin. That's okay. We're allowed grace and things happen. So yeah, you just do. So that's why these look like that. Do half the batter. They taste really good, better than the other batch of the ones I usually make. All right, the other donuts came out of the oven. You just have to be crooked a little bit here. Look at, they turned out and they look like a donut. That's what they should look like. So fill your muffin pans or your donut pans halfway. Don't overflow or you will end up with this, unless you like this look, which is good. It's like 2 donuts for 1. This looks more like a donut. So this, I'm gonna put the glaze on. All right, so cookies are in the oven. I'm just gonna have to keep baking those and take those up. They look like they're gonna work. So next we're gonna make some of that banana cake, banana bread. I made it before, love it. Everybody absolutely loves it. Nice cakey bread, banana flavor. I don't know, delicious. So I'm gonna put everything in my mixer here and I'll measure out this. I think it's 3 1/3 cup. Mix is 1 box, so I'll probably double it. Put it in here with my mashed bananas and it'll be delicious. All right, these cinnamon ones, they're really big, so make your roll a little bit smaller and you'll get them that way, or you can have the gigantic ones. Either way, the kids like them. They say they taste good, so these are good. I'm just gonna keep these rolling. The banana bread came out of the oven. I've got one more batch in, got a chunk of hair right here. I'm going to get my next one. I'm gonna do, I have a little bit of cake mix left, so I'm just gonna make vanilla cupcakes, just regular cupcakes with it, because I have a piece of hair, because I have a container of green frosting I need to use up in my pantry. I thought we could do cupcakes, green frosting, and we have leftover M&Ms from Easter to put on top. That'll be perfect. Gather those fragments. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do, I have to make a recipe to take somewhere this weekend. So I have pumpkin. I have those huge cans of pumpkin, but I have a small one here I want to use up, and I have all that yellow cake mix in there. So I'm gonna actually, I probably shouldn't have used that last batch to make cupcakes with, and I want to have to open a whole box, but that's okay. We'll roll it down and save for later. So I'm gonna make pumpkin pie bars, which these are really, really good. I'm gonna take some to take with me. Maybe, yeah, I'll just do one batch of these. So you basically make pumpkin in the bottom, make sure that you put like cake mix and then butter and pecans, and I have all of that to use up. So I'm just gonna put this in the mixer here. All right, so I've got the pumpkin recipe, the pumpkin all mixed up, and then I went to go to my pantry to get my box of cake mix thinking I had another yellow one in there. I don't. Today is just like, so there's chocolate in there. So I'm like, that's not gonna work for me. So I'm like, let me Google up a recipe for a cake mix, how to make a cake mix like a cake box. So I did that, put that in here, and we'll just sprinkle this one on top. It's What'd she do? There's always an alternative. I was just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened, but that's okay. So now you're gonna spray your pan, add the pumpkin, put the stuff on top, and do some melted butter and chopped pecans, and it will be delicious. All right, today is busy, busy, busy. I got the one piece of hair driving me crazy. So I've been doing school, I've been doing lunch, I've been doing life in between. So it's just been a long day. It's just one of those days where I'm like, oh my goodness, trying to do things. There's 10,000 things going on. It's one of those days. I like a quiet kitchen, get up and bake. That's my favorite time of day. Get her done. That's what I like to do. Today it didn't go that way, and that's okay. So it's just a little more chaotic, but that's okay. That's life. That's what happens when your mamas are with all your babies and it's insane. You're like, how come I can't do like she does? Because I don't have any kids running around. That's all. So we're just moving slowly. It's already the afternoon. It's like 2:30. That's how my day's rolling today. So I've got the pumpkin thing in the oven mixing up for baking, and then I'm gonna mix up some energy bites. I haven't made these in forever and ever, and I was just watching the Wads and she did one, and I'm like, actually I forgot we haven't done this. So I'm gonna mix mine up. I'll put the recipe on the screen. I don't have coconut, but we can do it without. I'm gonna add flaxseed and wheat germ to mine instead.
Gonna stay in this moment, gonna lay here on the grass. I don't need to feel lonely, I am finally home at last. And I don't mind being gone on adventures for a while. No, no, 'cause the best thing about it is I know I'm coming back. Oh, oh. Of all the magic places in the world I've been to, this is where my heart is. Oh, you know it's true. No matter where I go, I'm coming home to you. Been walking down the street so many times, my feet know every brick.
These I'm just gonna put in the freezer, and then I can place them inside a Ziploc bag. All right, day is coming down. The pumpkin one came out of the oven. I'll let you know how that is in a minute. We'll try it later. It's definitely different. It's not usually, I think it gets crispy on top, so I just have to let it cool, obviously, then we'll see how crispy it is. But the last thing I had was gathering your fragments for marshmallows, and we have Rice Krispie cereal. So I'm gonna look at the recipe here to figure out what I gotta do. Melt my butter here, put it on the stove, and make a small little pan of Rice Krispie treats.
I have seen many places where the beauty never ends. Different cities, friendly faces, and perhaps I'm going back. But I don't have to be chasing every dream that I have. Oh.
I am done. So it is now 3 o'clock. Oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever baked till 3 o'clock. Long, long day. But that's okay. Sometimes life happens and you gotta do what you gotta do. So the only bad thing is I didn't clean as I went, and I have a huge sink full of dishes, but that's okay. So this week, this is what we ended up with. So here is the pumpkin bars, which will be really good. I'll let this cool and cut a tiny little piece, but it's still pretty solid. And I just heated up some veggies for dinner, and spaghetti squash. This is a meatloaf, and this is a chicken stuffed shells in there for dinner tonight. So that's gonna cook. What do we come up with? Mess over here. So Maddie did beautiful cupcakes for us. She spelled the word love. We've got all these banana breads, so plenty of banana breads. We've got Rice Krispies. We got mess all over the tablecloth. These, the kids love these. They said these were so good, cinnamon cookies. So yeah, these are really good cinnamon roll cookies. Here's my fail on the blueberries, but they do taste delicious. So do them like this, not like this. Chocolate delicious and chocolate chip. Not bad winner for today. All right, let's go. feel like I need to go step outside because I feel like I have seen outside, but it's just been a busy day. Let's go outside and we can read our psalm outside. Oh, it is a beautiful day. Check out the beautiful weather. Oh my goodness, it is gorgeous. The leaves are growing on the trees. Pretty soon we won't see that little expressway over there or the mountain. Beautiful day. All right, so I know it's gonna be like my camera is so dirty. All right, so I am gonna go because it has been a long day. I'm looking at my camera and there's like food on my camera. Gross. Let me pick that up. That's what happens when you're cooking and you're filming at the same time. But it has been a good day. It's been a busy day, and I'm like, oh, sometimes I just was like, I should just give it up. If I had little kids, I probably would have just stopped and went to the park with the kids, or took them outside, or did something else. Sometimes it's good to do that, but today I had a goal. I had to get it done. So now we're done. We have plenty of food, treats to eat, take us through the next week or so. So this mama is gonna go. I am done. Taking off the apron, all dirty, full of cookie. There's like cookie batter and chocolate cake batter. But oh, hey Chi-Chi, so you saw today what we do if you've got something going on. Okay, like the cake mix, totally used up the cake mix. Let's just figure out what we can do instead so we can make something different. Then we gathered up a whole lot of fragrances. I used a lot of different things up in my pantry, which was awesome. Hello, yes we did, Chi-Chi. She's like, I'm here. So I was happy to get that done. So you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you guys again tomorrow with another video. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. And for those of you that want to stay, I'm going to read our psalm for the day. Psalm 78, God's guidance of his people in spite of their unfaithfulness. Listen, O my people, to my teaching. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth and be willing to learn. I will open my mouth in a parable to instruct using examples. I will utter dark and puzzling sayings of old that contain important truth, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide from their children, but we will tell to the generations to come the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, and tell of his great might and power and the wonderful works that he has done. For he established a testimony, a specific precept in Jacob, and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers. They should teach to their children the great facts of God's transgressions with Israel, that the generations to come might know them, that the children still to be born may arise and recount them to their children, that they should place their confidence in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments and not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation. The kitty cat is just rubbing her. We're trying to look at her. She's like, let me rub on anything I can do. All right, let's go back to I want to be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that did not prepare its heart to know and follow God, and whose spirit was not faithful to God. The sons of Ephraim were armed as archers and carrying bows, yet they turned back in the day of battle. They did not keep the covenant of God and refused to walk according to his law, and they forgot his incredible works and his miraculous wonders that he had shown them. He did marvelous things in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan, where Pharaoh resided. He divided the Red Sea and allowed them to pass through it, and he made the waters stand up like waters behind a dam. In the daytime he led them with a cloud, and in all the night with a light of fire. He split rocks in the wilderness and gave them abundant water to drink like the ocean depths. He brought streams also from the rock at Rephidim and Kadesh, and caused waters to run down like rivers. Yet they still continued to sin against him by rebelling against the Most High in the desert, and in their hearts they put God to the test by asking for food according to their selfish appetite. Then they spoke against God. They said, can God prepare food for a table in the wilderness? Behold, he struck the rock so the waters gushed out and the streams overflowed. Can he give us bread also, or will he provide meat for his people? Therefore when the Lord heard, he was full of wrath. A fire was kindled against Jacob, and his anger mounted up against Israel, because they did not believe in God, they did not rely on him, and they did not adhere to him, and they did not trust in his salvation, his power to save. Yet he commanded the clouds from above and opened the doors of heaven, and he rained down manna upon them to eat, and gave them the grain of heaven. Man ate the bread of angels. God sent them provision in abundance. He caused the east wind to blow in the heavens, and by his unlimited power he guided the south wind. He rained meat upon them like the dust, and winged birds like the sand of the seas. And he let them fall in the midst of their camp, around their tents. So they ate and were well filled. He gave them what they craved before they had satisfied their desire. And while their food was in their mouths, the wrath of God rose against them, and killed some of the strongest of them, and subdued the choice young men of Israel. In spite of all this, they still sinned, for they did not believe in his wonderful and extraordinary works. Therefore he consumed their days like a breath in emptiness and futility, and their years in sudden terror. When he killed some of them, those remaining sought him, and they returned to him and searched diligently for God for a time. And they remembered that God was their rock, and the Most High God their Redeemer. Nevertheless, they flattered him with their mouths and lied to him with their tongues. For their heart was not steadfast toward him, nor were they faithful to his covenant. But he, the source of compassion and loving kindness, forgave their wickedness and did not destroy them. Many times he restrained his anger and did not stir up all his wrath. For he graciously remembered that they were mere human flesh, a wind that goes and does not return. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness and grieved him in the desert. Again and again they tempted God and distressed the Holy One of Israel. They did not remember the miracles worked by his powerful hand, nor the day when he redeemed them from the enemy. How he worked his miracles in Egypt and his wonders in the field of Zoan, where Pharaoh resided, and turned their rivers into blood, and their streams so they could not drink. He sent among them swarms of flies which devoured them, and frogs which destroyed them. And he also gave their crops to the grasshopper, and the fruit of their labor to the locust. He destroyed their vines with great hailstones, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave over their cattle also to hailstones, and their flocks and herds to thunderbolts. He sent upon them his burning anger, his fury, and indignation, and distress. A band of angels of destruction among them. He leveled a plan for his anger to give it free run. He did not spare their souls from death. He turned over their lives to the plague. He killed all the firstborn in Egypt, the first and best of their strength in the tents of the land of the sons of Ham. But God led his own people forward like sheep and guided them in the wilderness like a good shepherd with a flock. He led them safely so they did not fear. But the sea engulfed their enemies. So he brought them to his holy land, to this mountain Zion, which his right hand had acquired. He also drove out the nations before the sons of Israel, and allotted their land as an inheritance, measured out and partitioned. And he had the tribes of Israel dwell in their tents, the tents of those who had been dispossessed. Yet they tempted and rebelled against the Most High God, and did not keep his testimonies, laws. They turned back and acted unfaithfully like their fathers. They were twisted like a warped bow that will not respond to the archer's aim. For they provoked him to righteous anger with their high places devoted to idol worship, and moved him to jealousy with their carved images by denying him the love, worship, and obedience that is rightfully and uniquely his. When God heard this, he was filled with righteous wrath, and utterly rejected Israel, greatly hating her ways, so that he abandoned the tabernacle at Shiloh, the tent in which he had dwelled among men, and gave up his strength and power, the ark of the covenant, into captivity, and his glory into the hand of the enemy, the Philistines. He also handed his people over to the sword. He was infuriated with his inheritance. The fire of war devoured his young men, and his bereaved virgins had no wedding songs. His priests fell by the sword, and his widows could not weep. Then the Lord awakened as from sleep, like a mighty warrior who awakens from the sleep of wine, fully conscious of his power. He drove his enemies backward. He subjected them to lasting shame and dishonor. Moreover, he rejected the tent of Joseph and did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, in which the tabernacle stood, but he chose the tribe of Judah as Israel's leader, Mount Zion, which he loved, to replace Shiloh as his capital. And he rebuilt his sanctuary, exalted like the heights of the heavens, like the earth which he has established forever. He also chose David his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From tending the ewes with nursing young, he brought him to shepherd Jacob his people, and Israel his inheritance. So David shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them with his skillful hands. Love a God that gives grace and is forgiving and kind and will give us chance after chance over and over again. All right, have a blessed day.